Two protests were held in Ambilipitiya and Galin Bindunu River today, blocking the main roads.
The Mahasen Community Water Organization commenced this demonstration near the Ambilipitiya bus stop at about 10 o'clock this morning. The protesters charged that the dumping of garbage collected by the Ambilipitiya Pradeshya Sabha and Urban Council in Kanabadiyara is polluting water sources. The protesters staged a procession to the town and commenced a demonstration blocking all access roads to the town centre. Although they blocked the roads, the protesters did allow ambulances, security forces vehicles and school transport vehicles to pass. Subsequently, the Assistant Superintendent of Police in Ambilipitiya, Senaratna De Silva, accompanied by several protesters, visited the Thera who chairs the Ambilipitiya Urban Council at the Ingara Ara Viharaya. Our reporter says that the chairman, Venerable Vevalduwe Nyanaprabha Thera, agreed to cease the dumping of waste in Kanabadiyara. The protesters dispersed after a letter containing the promise, signed by the chairman, was presented to them.
Meanwhile, farmers from the Galin Bindunu River Hurulu Agrarian Settlement and farmers from the Hurulu River Joint Farmers Society staged a demonstration this morning. They accused the Ministry of Agriculture of failing to recompense them, as promised 5 months ago, for substandard seeds that were procured for them from a private company for the last harvest season. They said that the harvest yielded by the seeds was 20% less than the yield from their usual seeds. The protesters demonstrated in the Galin Bindunu River town before arriving by procession to the divisional secretariat. Our reporter said that the Galin Bindunu River Divisional Secretary Margaret P. Kumburege met with the protesters and requested that they give her an hour to resolve the matter. Subsequently, the protesters demonstrated blocking the junction where the access road to the Anuradhapura, Kakirava, Kahatagastagiliya and Hurulu Nikavava meet. Although the protesters returned to the divisional secretariat about an hour later, the divisional secretary did not meet with them. Discussions held with the district agriculture director and the chairman of the Galin Bindunu River Pradeshya Sabha were not fruitful. Deputy Minister of Rehabilitation and Prison Reforms Chandrasena Muthukumarana also held discussions with the protesters. Our reporter said that the protesters dispersed after the Deputy Minister promised to resolve the issue by Wednesday.
The Disaster Management Centre says that people in the Polonnaruwa and Batikalo areas are undergoing many difficulties as a result of the heavy showers being experienced in the region.
That's right. Now, the Assistant Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipili, says that steps have been taken to provide assistance to individuals who have been affected due to the flooding.
However, the Met Department has forecasted that the rains will dissipate in the days to come.
The Vadurupa area in Hambantutta was inundated this morning due to the overflowing of the Valave River. About 15 houses in the area had been partly flooded. The Ambulantara Pradeshya Sabha used a backhoe machine and expanded the estuary of the Valave River. Our reporter in the area noted that the water levels have been steadily decreasing as a result of this measure. All 10 spill gates of the Parakrama Samudra, which remained open for the past 2 days due to heavy rains in the Polonnaruwa area, were closed this morning. Although the Parakrama Samudra has reached its maximum capacity, the Minneria, Kaudulla and the Giritale tanks have not reached full capacity. Meanwhile, several areas in the Matara district were flooded due to the inclement weather. This is due to the overflowing of a branch of the Nilvala River. The Ransagoda, Koroburuwana, Makandara and Deyandara areas in Kamarupitiya were flooded last night. Flooding was also reported along the Mana road that falls through Ilwan Kulama. 3.5 feet of water was reported from the causeway area along the road. Although this area did not receive much rainfall, upper areas of the Kalaoya received heavy rains and the water levels of the Kalaoya have risen. Therefore, the Putla Mana road has been closed. Flood waters that are 3 feet higher reported from the location of the Kalaoya bridge.
Newsfirst Rowan Pereira, Puttalama Mannara Margi Sitter.
Tonight on our investigative journalism segment Action TV, we look at an issue that places a serious question mark on the administration of education in the Western Province. A group of graduates who sat for a competitive examination held by the Western Provincial Council about 26 months ago were granted teaching appointments on Friday, about 48 hours before the Provincial Council was dissolved. As of today, a week after being granted their appointments, these graduates are yet to commence work as they have not been assigned places of work. Assigning places of work is a simple matter that can be done through the Education Office. However, this simple matter was made serious today when all the graduates were called to Sangamita Girls' School in Boralla today. They were called to the school by an individual who can no longer be considered a civil servant since he was due for retirement on the 4th of this month. The position that this person held between the 7th of January 2011 and the date of his retirement is not a position that is recognized by the Management Service Department or the Treasury. On the 21st of January 2011, Action TV first exposed the appointment of this individual to the false position of Deputy Secretary of the Western Province Ministry of Education. Action TV pointed out then that this position is illegitimate and that the Secretary of the Provincial Ministry of Education who made the appointment was not vested with the power to make such an appointment. In the letter of appointment, the Provincial Education Secretary noted that the appointment was being made in an acting capacity with the blanket approval of the Provincial Public Service Commission. However, the Western Province Public Service Commission later made a written announcement that they had no involvement whatsoever with the appointment in question. Against this backdrop, the fact that the acting position was made permanent and the fact that this person was able to cling to this position for 3 years shows the ugly hand of politics undermining the fundamentals and ethics of good governance. Although the position of Deputy Secretary is non-existent in provincial ministries, several letters issued by the person who held this false office served to close down the alma mater of the composer of the national anthem on more than one occasion. In terms of qualifications, the person who held the position of Deputy Secretary of the Provincial Education Ministry is in fact not even qualified to hold the position of a Zonal Education Director. While this person, who is due for retirement with the dissolution of the Provincial Council, continues to carry out the duties of his false position, issuing various orders, the Provincial Education Secretary is engaged in a face-saving endeavour. While this person, who has no official power, continues to interfere in the education system, are the relevant authorities able to explain the premise and power of this non-existent position? Governor of the Western Province, this is over to you.
Leader of the Janaseta Perumuna, Venerable Battramule Seelaratana Thera, convened a media briefing today and expressed these views on the chairman of the Tangol Pradeshya Sabha.
දැන් අපිට අහන්න දකින්න ලැබෙනවා තංගල්ලේ සභාපති සම්පත් විධාන පතිරණ.
Today we see and hear that the chairman of the Tangol Pradeshya Sabha, Sampath Vidhana Patirana, has disappeared. He is not at a hospital. Where has he disappeared to? Is he a needle or is he a grain of sand? If you have a backbone and you are somewhere, present yourself before the High Court. When you committed wrong, you didn't know fear. Now the people in the Hambantota district need to think if they want to cast their vote for someone like him or cast their vote for someone who is wise and is capable of doing good work.
හොඳ බුද්ධිමත් අයට ඡන්දය දෙනවාද?
A British national killed and his girlfriend raped in a hotel in Tangol. The Tangol Pradeshya Sabha chairman Sampath Vidhana Patirana and 8 others suspected. Britain expressed concern that legitimate action has not been taken 18 months later. 6 suspects presented before the High Courts in Colombo. The chairman of the Pradeshya Sabha and 5 others granted bail. The Colombo High Court issues a warrant for the arrest of the chairman of the Tangol Pradeshya Sabha. A motion filed against the chairman of the Tangol Pradeshya Sabha, who has been missing since the 9th of this month.